You must hear the saying, where there is life, there is the world. Yes, who would want to leave behind a lively life adorned with colors, flowers, and fragrances and desire death? Who does not like this captivating world that enhances the heart and mind? Surely everyone wishes to live forever. But can we escape death in this very world? Absolutely. Now escaping death is no longer a dream, but mysterious reality. A day may come when the end of life becomes an old tale, which has walked like a shadow alongside humanity of centuries, may not be forced to stop back. Because attempts are being made in scientific laboratories to stop time, rejuvenate cells. But a question stands before humanity: if death does not come, will life still hold any meanings? Will eternal life be able blessings or burden under which humans will be crushed? In this situation, humanity stands at the of fear and hope, where every question gives birth to a new mystery. To reach this mystery, the research conducted so far by Nature Beyond the Science is being presented to you. Dear viewers, subscribe to the channel so that every video reach you. The beginning of this point dates back to January 12, 1967 in a hospital in the city of California, with the death of 71 years old patient named James Hiram Bedford, who was struggling between life and death. He had been declared incurable due to serious illness, and James Bedford had stopped beating. That silent hospital room where moment earlier death had been dancing suddenly turned into a laboratory. Some people appearing as doctors gathered around James. Why had they gathered, and what was their purpose? To understand this, we must look back into the past. In the past, an American physics professor, Robert Ettinger, stated that in his view, death is not an inevitable reality but a minor medical failure, because if humans can gain control over many things such as the speed of wind, the direction of river, and the rays of the sun, then one day they will also gain control over death. These words Robert Ettinger were not merely based on Planner's fantasy, rather they were a dream that was giving new hope to Western societies. Robert also expressed these ideas in his book The Prospect of Mortality. This book, written in support of the belief in escaping death and eternal life, gained immense popularity. People frightened of death were giving firm assurance that death would never come. To strengthen this belief, another logic was presented: if the human body and brain are frozen at temperature immediately after death, the cell can be saved from becoming completely dead. Not only that, but they could later be revived through advanced future technology. In other words, science will progress to such an extent that it will begin giving life after death. Ettinger's dream began as philosophy, which gradually took the shape of a movement when this idea was heard by a Western writer and intellectual named Evan Cooper, who already believed in human survival and immortality and supported such ideas. He took upon himself the mission of turning Ettinger's concept into reality. In 1964, Cooper founded the Life Extension Foundation, and in accordance with the thoughts of his hero, Robert Ettinger presented the plan of cryonic preservations. For eternal life, Cooper invited many people to participate in this mission by showing them the dream of living forever and asked them to hand over their bodies after death to his foundation, the Alcor Foundation. In fact, cryonics preservation was not just an idea, but the first step towards the next stage of human advancement. Even Cooper firmly believed that the time was not for when science would eliminate death and create immortal life. Cryonic was an idea that gained such strength that it went beyond thought and became a movement. As part of this movement, at the time of James Bedford's death, the first person to offer himself for cryonic preservations, volunteer from the Cryonic Society of California, including Robert Nelson, Daniel Brunel, Robert Pioda, and bioengineers were presented. They began the process of preserving James' body. Cryonic is essentially a scientific process in which the body of human or animal is frozen and preserved at extremely low temperature after death so that it may be revived in the future. Possible technological advancement. Cryonic is based on the hope that future science and technology will make it possible to bring a dead body or brain back to life. After James Hiram death in the California hospital, volunteers from the organization rapidly lowered his body temperature and introduced to prevent cellular damage during freezing. He was then transferred into a steel capsule filled with liquid nitrogen maintained at temperature of minus 196 degree. The Life Extension Society team was well aware that this was an impossible process, yet they still carried out this first scientific experiment against death. The new published under the title "The Man Who Refused to Die" caused a sensation in the scientific world. Some people expressed amazement at the experiment, while others labeled it foolish, unethical, and mockery of nature. James Bedford's frozen body was moved to various locations because initially cryonic facilities were inadequate. Therefore, the process of transferring his body to better environment and team continued, and even today his body remains preserved at minus 196 degree. The combination of James Bedford death and cryonic has raised many obstacles before science in the future. Will science progress enough to revive a dead person against the power of nature? Is this merely a scientific folly? But the truth is that nature can never be defeated, and science will always remain subordinate to nature. Here too, science defeat is certain, because according to all religion, death is inevitable and the decision of life after death slowly with Allah Almighty. Cryonic is a reflection of human desires and unstable concept of immortality, which has little to no connection with reality. However, James Bedford's cryonic preservation stunt may lay the foundation for a new scientific upheaval. The fear of death and the temptation of long life have brought near 600 people to the door of cryonic, some preserving only their brain and other their entire bodies for the future, standing with the hope of eternal life. To some this is hopeful endeavor, to others it is not only an impossible and failed attempt but also terrifying example of tampering with nature. Yet life is a beautiful blessing, and people in every circumstances before it perfect it over death, hoping that one day science will advance to such an extent that a dead body can be brought back to life. Whereas the truth is that to this day science has not succeeded in reviving even a single dead person through cryonics.